This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one-of-its-kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sphurti, shakti and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.
नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, वड़क्कम, वेलकम। आप सभी का भारत एफएम के इस कार्यक्रम में, जिसका के नाम है रूबरू, में तहे दिल से स्वागत है। और मैं हूं आपका दोस्त और आपका होस्ट आशीष झा। तो दोस्तों, आज हम जिनसे रूबरू हो रहे हैं वो एक फिल्म प्रोड्यूसर हैं। सो बिफोर वी इंट्रोड्यूस हिम, वी गेट हिम ऑन द स्टेज, let me introduce a little bit about him and his production company. In 1959, an audacious young man decided to risk it all in the Bollywood industry, which was mired in losses and bankruptcies. He debuted as producer of the film Qatil. Thus began the immersive journey of N.N. Sippy. He formed N.N. Sippy Productions, synonymous with the biggest and best the films Bollywood has seen till date. The 25 blockbuster hits are a testament of this visionary's astuteness, his understanding of cinema, its creativity and economics. Subsequently, his son, Pravesh Sippy, has taken the banners to new heights, forging alliances and international co-productions like the Indo-Finnish venture, the Real McCoy in 1999, Reufge in 2002, and the Square Circle in 1996. And more recently, the highly awarded and acclaimed Hotel Salvation in 2017. And there are some new movies which we are going to talk about once we have him on stage. So let's welcome Pravesh Sippy. Hello, sir.
Ashish ji, good to see you. Good to see you.
Cool. So first of all, thank you very much, Pravesh ji, for coming on our show, Rubaru, on Bharat FM and sharing your journey, your story with all of us, with us and our audiences all around the globe. Thank you very much.
My journey is it's been pretty cushy, thanks to my father. So let's talk about his tough days.
Okay.
You know, the partition and the move from there overnight with nothing in the pocket and all that that everybody's been through and knows about. It all happened with him.
Right.
And the struggle was a real struggle for him over here because my grandfather, his dad, was actually a distributor and an exhibitor in Pakistan. So it goes one generation, before that. And then for my dad to come here and work as a typist, as a production assistant, to finish his education, literally studying on the streets under the street light at night with a day job. All of that happening with him. He was working with the legend Mr. Gurudutt during one of his earlier films before he actually, was sort of mentored by Tina Munim's father.
Really? Okay.
A lot of support somehow. I'm not sure about how that connection happened, but the actress Tina Munim's father really helped my dad in the early days, and from there started his journey of doing a little bit of brokerage, a little bit of some job here and there, till he learned distribution and then got into production as well. So
Was
my
production always
journey has been very, very comfortable thanks to him.
no? So do you know, like, was production always in his mind? Like, at some point, I want to start with this.
Yeah, I think movie business was, like I said, in the blood.
Right.
My
Of course.
grandfather. So I suppose that's what he had seen growing up over there, and what he knew or
Right.
wanted to do to emulate his father over there.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
it was always on.
What is that?
But he's a self-taught, observant, learning kind of a guy who went through the motions at every stage and learned on the job, so to say.
Very nice. Okay. So when you were born, he was already a film producer, correct?
Yes, I was 1 year old on the sets of Gumnaam, which was his, before that was Wo Kaun Thi,
Right.
with Lag Ja Gale and all of that. So I was just born when that film kind of came out. And I was about 1 year old on the sets of Gumnaam on location.
You went on the sets of Gumnaam?
I was 1 year old in the arms of Helen in Goa. I have a photograph. I can't share it here.
Wow.
I wasn't prepared, but yeah, I had that on my on our website for a long time. I just pulled it off recently
Okay.
when I kind of changed and updated some pictures. So that came off. But I was 1 year old in Helen's arms on the sets in Goa. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your childhood. Like, how was your childhood growing up? I mean, at what point you realized, okay, my dad is a film producer and what that means? And I know that right now you are a film producer as well. But as a child, when you're growing up, your dreams keep changing because of you being a child. I mean, of course. I mean, so what was your cycle during the school?
I never wanted to be a doctor, engineer, whatever. None. It was always, I suppose, meant to be this. I'll just jump a little bit and then come back to your question. So it was after he finished Sargam. So I'm now in 1979 for you.
Uh-huh.
At that time, after Sargam did a Golden Jubilee and beyond that, I think by then he, had really peaked and was maybe tired because he was doing, working round the clock for almost a decade from Wo Kaun Thi, 1963, 64. Of course, he started much earlier with Qatil and Rupleka.
Right.
But when it came to Sargam, I was still in my teens. And I think he was thinking maybe of taking a break or retiring. And he asked me what I'd like to do. And I took a day or two and went back to him and said, you'll have to hang in there because, I'm going to come back here. And so मैं यही करूँगा, मैं ये करना चाहता हूँ was discussed around 1979, 1980 after, I was just finishing high school. So, we have the 10 plus 2 plus system here. So I was finishing my 10th grade around that time.
Okay.
So I also had to decide कि क्या करना है, कैसे करना है.
That is right.
So that's when I planned in my mind कि मैं 2 years यहाँ पे college में करूँगा और फिर अमेरिका जाऊँगा पढ़ने, which I did. So I went to San Francisco to film school there, San Francisco Art Institute, which is one of the best schools today in the US. It was relatively new and unknown then. And I spent some time there. I didn't finish my degree for various reasons. My mom passed and my dad got lonely and various personal reasons as well. But I came back and just decided to, go out there and become an assistant and go through the grind.
I see.
So I became an assistant to the famous editors Vaman Guru. And so that was it was always there. There was no other option at any time, at any age that I switched कि मुझे cricketer बनना है, मुझे doctor बनना है, मुझे
nothing else. You're always very clear. Film producer ही बनना है. Okay, good. So growing up as a child, what kind of child you were? Like what
I was the only son, so I guess my sisters say I was very pampered and very obnoxious and irritating at times, I suppose. But that I think every sister says lovingly.
Right.
But no, I remember, and I have a lot of pictures again of me being 8, 9, 10 years old in a suit and a tie and a serious jacket and boots and whatever, all dressed up with my father holding my hand at premiere shows where I'm standing there greeting the stars and the guests, and I have all of that. So from a very young age, I was standing right by his side. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. So you have seen very closely how your father functions, basically, and you kind of knew the nuances of being a film producer.
Yes and no. It's you can't learn these things in a way, and yes, there was a lot to learn, but
Okay.
it's just going out there and handling a situation and getting the best deal out of it from all perspectives is how you get a movie made, in my opinion.
Right. So we will come to that question because I want to take this opportunity to understand the process of film production. So we will get there, but let's go one step at a time. So after your childhood days, as you mentioned, you were like 19 years old and you told your dad that I want to be a film producer. And that is the point that you came to the US to study, right? But then because of personal reasons, you had to go back. So what happened after that when you went back?
Worked as an assistant editor. While I was working over there with Vaman Guru, one of the films that I was deputed to work with Vaman Saab closely was Hero with Jackie Shroff and Subhash Ghai. So Subhash ji, of course, with Kali Charan being his first film for my father. And then from Kali Charan onwards, I think my dad and he collaborated on about 9 or 10 films.
Right.
In whatever form, distribution, finance, producing, whatever it is, they were really close and he was always around. And then he got busy doing his own thing and we didn't see too much of him. And then I would see him every day at work as an assistant, right? And I was watching this film while it was being made on the table. And I came back home one day and I told my dad, I said, you know what? You need to pick up the phone, invite Mr. Guy over for dinner. I don't care. You're not discussing anything else. You're buying this film for distribution. That's one. Insider trading, I don't care about. But I'm giving you the news that this is a blockbuster. You pick this one up. So I got him, encouraged him to just blindly pick on Hero, the acquisition. And when Hero was done and we succeeded and all of that, by then I had done a few more films and a couple of years there. It was time for me to, get to the battlefield on this side. And I just looked at that and I said, my first film, I think Mr. Ghai needs to direct. So can we call him again for dinner?
Okay.
And we did, and Meri Jung happened. So
I see. That's how Meri Jung. So that was your first production.
That was my first film where I was on the battlefield. My father came as a guest for lunch. Maybe once he, as promised, was shown the first cut for his comments and views, which we then tweaked as he advised. And then of course bringing it out and all of that was his job. That I had to sit and learn. But on the sets, I was thrown in there alone, but under Mr. Ghai's. So I learned a lot about production from Subhash Ghai.
I see. Okay, wonderful. So now tell us, what is film production? What is the process of producing a film? I mean, other than the money that you put, of course, everybody knows that you have to put some money. But how involved do you need to be? I mean, when it comes to film production.
It used to be very different. So I'll tell you what it was.
Okay, and what it is now.
I'll tell you what it is today.
All right, I'm all ears. Let's hear it out.
So I saw my dad put together projects once he decided on a subject, whether it was a original story that was narrated to him, or whether it was a South Indian film that he chose to remake. Whatever but the basic content, the idea कि ये करना है, हमको ये बनाना है, and we're going to make this film. Once that he was totally confident of, then it was a matter of putting things in place. Who's going to direct it? Very key to bring a director on first, and the writing team.
Okay.
Once you get some sort of a clear vision on that, you think about the actors, because you have to start reaching out, and if they're busy, then you have to wait.
Yeah. So before you move on, you mentioned that he is basically at this point you are trying to make a team. But how did that, like, I want to make this film? Is that based on like some book he must have read, or
Yeah, that's what I said. Whether it was an original script that came his way, whether it was a South Indian film, whether it was a book that he read and then said, "Hey, can you think this can work in Hindi?" to the writer, and if the adaptation made sense, maybe they did that.
Okay.
And in those days, copyright and all those issues weren't really
that's true.
in India.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's an open secret that Gumnam was inspired by Agatha Christie's And There Were None. And so many other films have always been in till the 80s, I suppose.
Yeah.
Inspired by the West, or by a book, or by some other thing that they've seen or heard of.
Right.
So in India, that's how it happened in those days. Or a writer director, or maybe he decided to work with a director because that person is a friend or someone he wanted to work with, and maybe over drinks they got together and narrated something to each other and said, "You know what? Let's do this together." And the idea was born, and the project was born, and it happened. So various ways of how you got down to deciding on what to do, but then the process is pretty much the same.
Okay.
You put the team in place, you reach out to the actors. In those days, for a big producer like him, it was a phone call away. You called the actor yourself directly.
Okay.
And you got a meeting very quickly, and there was always that respect and that thing of, yes, we want to work together. So you reached out. If they liked what you heard, what they heard, and these are the dates we can roughly look at starting with. Once those kind of things was in place, there was complete faith and trust. There was no paperwork. There was no it was just their word to each other and a shake hand, and then the secretary would come and maybe work the dates out, and the actual planning and scheduling and detailing would start happening, and then everything else. So that's how it kind of happened. Or we had a friend who called me one day and said, "There's this blockbuster South Indian Telugu film. It just opened on Friday. I have the print here in Bombay. I really strongly think you should see it." So we went and saw a movie called it was called Gang Leader, and literally went and saw the preview a day after it opened there, a day or two after it opened there, that first weekend. Or by middle of the week, we were in Chennai meeting Mr. Chiranjeevi and Mr. Allu Arvind, and within a month it was all set up. Within 3 months we were shooting, and within 7 months the film was out.
Oh wow!
So sometimes it just happens as quickly as that. A big film like that with Chiranjeevi is still today, and at that time was the biggest star. He was on the cover of India Today as being the first actor, I think, to charge 1 crore.
Right.
He was on the cover.
He was
of India Today. Yeah. So it just happened like this, and yeah.
So you went. So when you mentioned that you went to for this movie, and you said that we want to do this, are you talking about the Telugu movie itself, or are you talking about the remake in Hindi?
No, the Telugu film came out in the cinemas, and we saw it and decided to make the Hindi version. So So Aaj Ka Gunda Raj was born.
Okay. That's how Aaj Ka Gunda Raj was born. Okay. I see. Now I understand. Okay. So tell us one thing. This is how it used to work in those days.
Yes.
What is it today? What is different about today?
In one word, a nightmare. It is the most difficult job. I'm talking of a serious, big budget, proper film. Because of the way the systems are today, there is the studio system in place. If you are considering anything, whether it's from a piece of story that you've found from Korea or some other part of the world, you still have to reach out. You need a battery of lawyers to put everything in place with regards to rights. Then you need a studio. You need there's a lot of these kind of things from compliance perspective, from legal perspective, from so there's a lot of effort and time that goes into that before you even get to the creative process.
I see.
Today you cannot meet the actors, no matter who they are and how good a friend of yours they might be. They are all under professional management. So it's like the US. There are agents here, Kwan and all are all international firms that have their India, offices here. So you have to go and try meeting and talking to those guys.
Oh wow! Okay. So the process has become really hard. Basically.
Yeah. It's not easy at all to get your script across to them, to get their attention, and to convince them that this script is worth and this project is worth taking to the star.
I see. Okay.
And they will call the shots. They will decide. They will negotiate. And the actor, even if yes, of course, finally the actor is the boss, and in rare cases they do override, their agents or whoever and say, look, I don't care what you're saying. I understand it, but for whatever reason, I want to do this, or I want to, do this at this price for him for this reason, whatever it might be. Finally, the boss takes the call, but 9 times out of 10, or maybe even more, they don't get involved and intrude in their space. So it's become very tight and professional. A lot of the stars that matter today, your successful stars, are all signed up with agents or studios. So people like Yash Raj that introduces a bunch of actors. Then those people are with them for the longest time. And if I need to reach out to that actor, I have to go first to Yash Raj. Right. Similarly, there's a lot of actors under Karan Johar's company. There's a lot of actors with Sajid Nadiadwala. I mean, Sunil Shetty and I are childhood friends. But I know today it would be silly of me to even think that I can call Sunil and say, can Ahan do a film for me? His son is being launched by Sajid Nadiadwala. The film is ready, and they'll be planning it, I suppose, based on the COVID, whatever. But the film is ready now, and I think I will have to seek Sajid Nadiadwala out to, and I don't blame them, because today the costs have gone up so much. Everything is so difficult and expensive, and this whole professionalism thing. So, I don't blame them. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Sunil would say, Pravesh, I can't do anything for you. Right. If you want Ahan, you have to talk to Sajid,
Oh, wow. So that was my next question, that even if you have good relationship, even then you would not be able to talk to the person directly.
Not at all. Not even.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. And the amount of time and effort that you would put into that is just mind-blowing. So now my next question is the most critical one for any producer, the budget. I know the budget is very, very critical for a producer. But how do you decide on a budget? What are the factors that you consider, and how do you take care during the production of the film?
So most people, investors who come in not knowing anything about the movie business, they get taken for a ride, to be honest.
That's what I felt. That was my thought process as well.
In all these years, I must have turned away, I don't know how many hundreds of people, uh, because I'm not going to cheat someone. I'm not going to, if we were built like that, then Sippy Productions from 1959 I would not be here with you on the show
Right.
in 2021.
Right.
If I'd done it once, twice, thrice, I may have made some money. I may have had, a Rolls Royce parked downstairs, but I don't have that, and I don't want it that way.
Mhm.
So I usually have, and a lot of people have told me, Pravesh, you're not doing it. You're going to turn them away. They're going to go out there because they've come with this desire to do this, and someone else is going to take that money. And sure enough, it happens. Very few people take your advice when you're honest and tell them, you will get into trouble. Please take my advice. Go home. Hold on to your money. Don't do this. They don't listen to you. So, so to answer your question, budgets vary. The same thing and the same film can be made and made to look really good at price X. You can genuinely spend Y and add a few things that might really help, but you got to weigh the pros and cons on, ये करके फायदा होगा या नहीं भी करेंगे तो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
So then,
कर लेंगे तो for your satisfaction that you're enhancing it, but आम आदमी को शायद पता नहीं चलेगा. तो
right.
करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए, it should be in your hands as a producer.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it indulgence. I'd just say it's a creative sort of satisfaction thing.
Okay.
And what most people do is they give you a very tight budget. They give you a little program. They bring you in. They'll give you budget X, and as you reach towards a certain point, they will corner you and say, all that money is going to go down the drain because we can't proceed. We need Y and we need Z.
Oh wow. Okay.
हमको इतना और चाहिए, नहीं तो ये बनेगा कैसे? ये तो एक्चुअली ये हो गया, वो हो गया, ऐसा हो गया, वैसा हो गया. Very convincing stories.
And who exactly would do that? Is it like somebody specific from the team, like the director, or who would do that to the producer? It's the director. Okay. Okay.
So in today's professionalism and kind of contracts, you can protect yourself. With all of that, there are guarantees and there are contingencies and there are pay cuts if unless of course it's a genuine reason that's approved and then you up your budget, or something unforeseen happens and you can't help it. But then again, there is insurance now, which was never here in India until maybe about 7, 8, 10 years ago. So you were at complete risk when my team made his films. If there was a fire on the set, or if some actor had to die halfway through, we had one big multi-star cast film where my director, young man, we were in the midst of our filming. We did a night shoot and he was going home and he died in the car accident.
Oh my God.
While our film was being made. So that film was called Aag Se Khelenge with Jitendra, Anil Kapoor, Meenakshi Shismutri, Kimi Katkar, Amrish Puri, Shakti Kapoor, Raj Kiran. It was mammoth.
Right? Yeah.
And my director passed away in a car accident going home from our own shoot.
Okay.
And there was no insurance those days.
Right.
So
what did you do?
There were hurdles. There were delays. Therefore costs went up. Costs went haywire a little. But it's our goodwill and our how we kind of brought it back on track. Finished it. It was reasonably successful. It works more in all the reruns and because of the action and the star cast and whatever. It does well with all the ancillary rights. But that when it came out, it obviously wasn't the best product because we didn't have a director halfway through the film.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like finding a new director and completing the film.
No, that becomes complicated. Also, legal issues, this, that,
I
too
see.
much. So it was because who we were. But a lot of films like this in those days would just die a natural death halfway through, and whatever money has been spent, that producer has to take the loss.
Wow.
In those days. Now you have, like I said, insurance and ways to take care of
Okay.
a lot of things. You still but that's in the bigger game that we play now. But for the newcomers and for people who come in and want to try out a Marathi movie or want to try a small budget Bhojpuri movie or whatever else, or maybe a Punjabi film, in logon ko 9 times out of 10, I must tell you that I'd be surprised if they haven't been.
So they get kind of cheated, I would say, or they basically people take them for a ride.
Yeah.
That's sad, unfortunately.
It is.
Yeah.
But like I also said, 9 times out of 10 people that I have advised, आप मत कीजिए, आप ये अपने पैसे आप 1 करोड़ ले आए हो, 1 करोड़ में कुछ होने नहीं वाला, आपको मिनिमम इतना चाहिए, आप 1 लाए हो, वो 1 आपका अटक जाएगा, या वो 1 करोड़ वाली फिल्म नहीं बिकेगी, नहीं चलेगी, आप मत कीजिए ये. But they think,
नहीं, मुझे तो फिल्म लाइन में घुसना है, कुछ करना है.
So it doesn't work. Then it doesn't work genuinely, even if they're not put through that kind of a bad situation while making it. But that product is never going to be up to the mark because it's obviously some incapable guy who's delivering a film in that budget, which really you can't do anything half decent with.
Right.
He's just done a job to say I've made a film and maybe run his kitchen.
Right. I agree. Okay.
तो उनका फायदा हो गया तो ठीक है, आगे बढ़ो.
Right. So now something similar related to the budget is we have heard that there are all sorts of films, low budget movie, high budget movie. There are movies like Bareli Ki Barfi and there are movies like Bahubali. Zameen Asman ka farak hai. But when it comes to commercialization, both the movies did well, right? Bahubali also did well. Even after spending that much money, they all recovered. Not just recovered, they made good money, right? And at the same time, Bareli Ki Barfi, like a movie like Bareli Ki Barfi, which is a low-budget movie, also did a very good job. So when you are deciding on picking a film, how do you know that if I pick, because there is more risk when you are going for a high budget movie, nahi?
नहीं, all films are risky. Everything is risky. आपके पास स्टारकास्ट है, वो हिंदी में कहावत है ना, हाथी मरता है तो वो भी 1.25 लाख का होता है. So, big movies with Shah Rukh Khan have flopped. Big movies with other actors have flopped. Just because he's in it or an equivalent star is in it doesn't mean So basically, as a producer, you need to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you want out of it, and how you're going to market it and monetize it. Each film has its own target audience.
Correct.
Sir, मारुति गाड़ी भी बिकती है और रोल्स रॉयस भी बिकती है.
Of course.
यहाँ मर्सिडीज भी लोग चला रहे हैं और वो मारुति 800 भी चला रहे हैं. मारुति वाले भी कमा रहे हैं, रोल्स रॉयस वाले भी कमा रहे हैं.
Yes.
So there is a market for everything. Now, if you try to tell the guy who's in the mindset of the Rolls Royce to buy your 800 Maruti, so you'll obviously go wrong, right? And vice versa.
Vice versa,
So
right.
you just need to know कि आज मैंने मारुति 800 बनाई है और ये मुझे यहाँ ले जाना है, इनको दिखाना है, इनको बेचने की कोशिश करनी है.
Correct.
जब मैं ये कर रहा हूँ तो मेरा ये होने वाला है और मुझे यहाँ. So you need to know all that as a producer, right?
Of course.
You need to know what you're going to do and why you're making it. Today, I've recently made more films in the changing times because, as I said, it's become difficult to really put together a big, it's only a handful of people who can put together a film with those stars, with a multi-star cast scenario, with the biggest, a Rohit Shetty or a director of that level and a budget of that level is not everybody's cup of tea.
That's
right?
right. Mm,
Because they themselves have become producers also.
right. Right.
The whole system has changed. The actors
Right.
have become producers. These successful directors have become producers. So
Correct.
within their own little bubble, they're happy working with each other, and 90% of the money is being made by them. That's
I
how the
see.
business has become. But
Okay.
everybody can make a good film. Everybody can make the right thing. And I personally have chosen over the changing times. My films are not recently not been the blockbuster mainstream, because I made a decision. I don't want to, for various reasons, at that time when I took that call, मुझे ये करना नहीं है. ये चीज मुझे उनके साथ compete नहीं करना है. मुझे उनके सामने उससे बड़ा नहीं बनना है. I want to do what I like,
Like,
what
yes.
I enjoy, and what I believe in.
Yes, of course.
So
That
my films became recently a little more passion oriented, a little more smaller in that sense. And if I still had the mental space of I am making this small thing, and मैं believe करता हूँ कि मेरी फिल्म जैसे आज का गुंडाराज चली थी और 5,000 सिनेमा में लगेगी, 4 शो दिन में लगेगी, और ये भी होगा और वो भी होगा, और इतने करोड़ का धंधा होगा, तो वो तो होने नहीं वाला.
that is
That's
true.
not realistic to myself on
You
my
have-
own paper.
Agree. That is
How
true.
am I going to?
Right.
So as a producer, you need to know. So there are certain films that I've made knowing कि ये मुझे national award और ये मुझे international अपना एक stature बनाना है. ये मुझे इसके साथ में international market में as a calling card ये मेरी film बनेगी. So Daira was a trigger to that.
I see. Okay.
The one that Amol Palekar directed.
Yes.
I always knew in 1996 to push the envelope and to challenge an orthodox society and the systems here. A film about a transgender, a film about certain issues that are there in Daira, which even today are taboo, maybe in all over the world. I mean, people are still having issues with gay people, or with the third gender, or whatever it might be, right? So I knew exactly what I was doing with it, and I got the national award for it.
That's awesome.
I woke up to the last issue of Time magazine in 1996, where they rated the 10 best feature films that year produced globally. English Patient was at number 1. मेरी फिल्म को उन्होंने number 7 पे डाला था, but I was in that elite list of the 10 best films produced that year.
Yeah, that is a huge
और
thing.
फिर 2 महीने बाद English Patient won the Oscar that year.
Yes, right.
But
right.
आज भी 1996 के बाद आज भी दायरा मेरे लिए एक कॉलिंग कार्ड है, एक विजिटिंग कार्ड है, जो अगर मैं someone who doesn't know me, other than my whole background and everything else that they then get into, the first thing is when I talk about Daira or show them Daira, the doors open for me.
That is amazing. Yeah, that is. See, that gives you satisfaction, right? Yeah.
So I don't have 500 crores like Sholay in the account thanks to Daira. I don't have 25 Silver Jubilee trophies, maybe like my dad's movies have, but I have Daira, which others don't have.
That is true. I would agree. So that was going to be my next question. Like, as a producer, whenever you invest, or whenever you decide that, or whenever you believe in something, you go ahead with it. But it does happen wherein, like, you believed in it, but it did not happen the way you thought it would happen, or vice versa. Also, I have seen a lot of movies which, when I see the movie, I'm like, "Ye chali kaise, boss?" And that was a super duper hit movie. What goes in? I mean, I sometimes don't understand the mathematics or the chemistry around how these things work.
No, so timing, luck, marketing, it just reaches the right audience at the right time, and you get lucky. it becomes timely. Maybe there's something in the film, that just becomes, a great film like Pakiza initially was not successful, and then Meena Kumari passed, and she died, and suddenly Pakiza became Pakiza. So,
Right.
Anything can change your luck with the film. Can impact its
Your
can
belief.
impact its performance,
Right.
for the good or for the worse.
Right. Right.
So many films have released on a Friday, and Saturday ko riots ho gaye, ya floods aa gaye, ya some political upheaval happened, and cinema se wo utar gayi. That's the
Right.
end of that. And that's a great film, but it didn't get a chance to be seen. And by the time you revive that business, there are 20 more new films, and it's gone.
So has that happened with you, where you strongly believed in something and it did not click?
No, I've been blessed. I've been blessed. I've been lucky. ऊपर नीचे yes के ये इतनी चलेगी, फिर वो उतनी नहीं चली. So in the distribution, there's a better example in the distribution wing of our business. Amitabh Bachchan, Jaya Bachchan, Rekha, Yash Chopra, Silsila was supposed to be the biggest film coming out, right?
Yeah.
That was the craze for that film.
Right.
The craze for that film was so... I haven't seen anything like this, where the film was releasing in Metro Cinema, and in Metro it used to open on Thursdays, and all other cinemas used to open on Fridays.
Uh-huh.
तो मंडे को एडवांस बुकिंग खुलता था.
Uh-huh.
वो मंडे एडवांस बुकिंग जो खुलने वाला था, उसके 2 दिन पहले सैटरडे को एक आदमी हमारे ऑफिस में आया. My dad wasn't there. It was Saturday. I was sitting there with our manager. Bipin Bhai was there, and only just he and I, because it was, I think, about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, almost closing time for Saturday. And we were in the office preparing, because Monday advance booking khulna hai. In those days, people used to call and ask us for tickets, and we had मुझे ये सिनेमा में 20 टिकटें चाहिए 6 बजे के शो में, उस सिनेमा में 3 टिकट चाहिए सुबह वाली शो में. And it used to be crazy. There was no online booking and all that.
Right.
Everybody just gave us their requests, and we had to organize the tickets, and they'd come and collect it from the office or whatever. Or we'd arrange for the manager to hold it for them against their names. That used to be the system then. So this stranger walks into the office and comes in. I was sitting in my dad's cabin, and my manager was in his cabin. And I see this stranger walking in, and he comes and sits, and he keeps an envelope on the table. So my manager says, "ये है क्या?" Says, "ये advance है आपके लिए." So my manager opened it, and it was cash. He's like, "ये advance for what? And who are you?" He said, "नहीं जी, Monday आपका advance booking खुल रहा है, and Thursday को first day, first show, I want to see in Metro alone by myself. I will buy out the show. I will pay you your house full. I will pay you whatever premium you want. I will pay you personally whatever you want, Mr. Manager." He was trying to bribe him. "But you got to give me Thursday, first show, for me to sit and watch by myself."
Wow.
So obviously we gave him a cup of tea and sent him away, and that was the end of that. So that was the craze of that film, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
वो film initially इतनी नहीं चली ना, ultimately.
नहीं चली. Correct.
So
That is
there are plenty of incidents like that, but that also made money. It was a silver jubilee, 25 weeks at Opera House,
Right.
in regular 3 shows a day, and all of that. I mean, it wasn't bad at all, but it wasn't what it was meant to be.
right. That's
तो
true.
ऐसी कहानियां बहुत है.
The thing is, like, we don't know if it wasn't that it was meant to be, or if it was completely different from what audience were expecting. That वो भी कभी-कभी होता है कि the percentage of people who like it and the percentage of people who don't like it, that balance needs to be there.
But that's with every movie, sir. Every
Exactly.
movie. Every
Exactly.
movie.
Exactly. That is with every movie. So I want to come to your current productions, but before that, in brief, tell us a little bit about your first production experience, which was Meri Jang. In brief.
My first day was we started filming on Manori Beach. If you remember the movie and the song, Meenakshi Seshadri dancing on the piano on the beach and all of that. That
Yeah.
song is what we started filming with.
Okay.
And मैं अमेरिका कैलिफोर्निया से नया नया वापस आया so and we are shooting on the beach, so
Right.
I showed up in shorts, right?
Because
And Manori Beach from my residence is about a 3-hour journey even today. So you can imagine in those remote days, 1984. I entered the sets early in the morning in my shorts, and Mr. Ghai puts his arm around me and says, "Son, go back home. You got to wear some clothes and come back. You are the producer of the film. What are you doing here in shorts?" He actually packed me off.
Okay.
I came home, changed, and went back.
Okay.
So that's my first memory of day one. But no, it was very organized. It was very systematic, and we were operating out of his personal office, and we had a mixed crew. Some of our NNCP Productions, old, experienced, trusted guys with designated jobs, and a bunch of his production guys that were there. So we were working with some new guys on the team. So it was very interesting, but it was very systematic, organized, and a great learning experience through the process. Because as a young man, मेरी पहली फिल्म में जावेद अख्तर साहब को हैंडल करना, आनंद बख्शी साहब से बैठना सिटिंग में, लक्ष्मीकांत प्यारेलाल के साथ रिकॉर्डिंग करवाना, लता मंगेशकर जी से गाना गवाना. It all happened in my very first film.
First film. I know that's a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
So anything that you remember that was very, very difficult for you and you came out of it as a winner?
In Meri Jang?
Yes.
Wow, that's a trick question.
We can come back to that later because I also want to know about your current productions and how they are going and what is your future plan.
Right now, a completed film is again a very small work of passion called The River of Love. Hindi mein hai. The film is in Hindi, but it's called The River of Love. We've garnered about 20 awards now in the circuit, important festivals like the Moscow International Film Festival, and all top either best actor, best director, best film, or best that level of awards, and not just a few technical awards or whatever.
Okay.
Best sound design as well at one of the important festivals. So it's a high quality film. It was made in a very, very reasonable budget because it's directed by Akash Khurana, the famous writer, actor. So Akash ji and I actually discussed that we had a vision that we want to showcase this film as a true indie film on how it can be done today, and at the kind of budget we made it, which I'm not going to talk about. It will affect my sales, but but for the kind of, when you see it on screen, you will never believe the kind of money that we've spent on the film.
Wow.
It looks 10 times more than what we've actually spent.
Okay.
So someday we will talk about it and showcase it and explain to people on how and why you really need to be good at being a producer as well, and how to get things done.
Right.
So I'll just give an example on that, where in Bombay today, it's very expensive to go out there and take permissions and get clearance to shoot on the street. There are multiple layers of permissions, and they're all expensive.
Right.
One day on the road in Bombay can cost you 8 lakhs and more.
Wow. Okay.
So if there is a sequence that you can do without taking that, and you do a guerrilla shoot, and you have to be prepared to get caught and how to get out of it. And I'm not talking about bribing someone. You just have to talk your way out of it. You just have to explain your situation convincingly and whatever, and get away. So these kind of things, we have to really be on the spot. I've been stopped at Paris airport with my equipment and things, and them wanting a huge amount of money in those days for overweight with the equipment and all of that. So it was my fault, and we still make mistakes after all these years and experience. So when I went from here, I had worked out a deal with Air France, and I had a 30 plus crew totally. So against each person and the weight allowed and all of that, it was all taken care of and planned.
Okay.
What I didn't realize is on my way back, 90% of my crew was going away to other jobs and on other days. Kisi ka kaam khatam hua, wo nikal gaye. Things like that happened. And I was coming back with 5 people, and the weight was the same, right?
That would not be allowed.
It wasn't. But trust me, my equipment and I got onto that flight. It took me 2 hours. It took me 2 hours with the guy on the check-in thing, and working on him and talking to him, and finally he let me on.
और क्या चाहिए? That is perfect. That's exactly what you want. So now about this River of Love, is it available for people to watch anywhere? How can people watch that?
If anybody from the US or anyone watching this show from wherever they are, it's going to be in cinemas very soon in France. I don't have the date yet. I don't have the name of the cinemas yet, but it's been announced officially, coming out very soon in cinemas in France. So that's our first world premiere, because it is a film designed more for that audience. So
that kind of audience.
if it succeeds there, it's going to trigger a lot more for me.
Someday we can hope watching it in the US.
I'll be happy to. I'm actually negotiating and working out an OTT deal, and if that works out, I will keep you and the listeners posted.
That will be awesome.
We make our movies. We want appreciation. We want people to see it.
Of course.
So you will hear about it, and I will hound you to let the world know and let the people know.
Yeah. Definitely. That was going to be my next question, talking about OTT. How things have changed as a producer for you when you look at OTT?
Well, it's a boon. It's changing times. हम अगर adapt नहीं करेंगे, people are more and more online. People are more and more designed. Now used to watching what they want to watch at their own time and the way they want to, as opposed to you telling them your movie is coming at 3 p.m. on XYZ television channel, and you've got to drop everything to see it, or you missed it. Or you have to rerun in the middle of the night when you're tired and when you're not watching it.
Right.
Whatever. So this gives the viewer and it's changed everything. Then it's given access to a lot of world content. So people's tastes have changed. They've evolved. I'm glad that's happening personally, because I believe as a filmmaker, I have evolved and I have grown. So I didn't get into the rut कि जो फिल्में हम बनाते थे वही मसाला, वही सॉन्ग एंड डांस, वही फॉर्मूला वाली फिल्में मैंने 1 बार 2 बार 3 बार 6 बार 10 बार, उसमें से कान में सुपरहिट हुई, उसमें बहुत पैसे कमाए, वो सब हुआ हमारा, वो मैं कर चुका ना, फिल्म फेयर अवार्ड भी ले चुका, सिल्वर जुबली भी दे चुका, सब किया मैंने. उसके बाद और क्या करूं? So I started focusing on the international and then the digital. So therefore, a lot of our films, the last few smaller ones, have done very well on online, various OTT platforms, television channels, whatever it is. And I have no issues with the smaller screen. I don't necessarily need. However, I am absolutely ready with this massive blockbuster program that I need to get made. It's जो आज का दौर चल रहा है, जो pan India like you mentioned, Bahubali a little while in the conversation. Quite a few films now have actors, stars from the South, from Bombay, and the kind of content, and it comes out simultaneously in Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, and all of that happens with those kind of movies. So I do have a major, big budget, blockbuster kind of a superstar, two superstars. We've spoken to one who said yes. We are talking to the other. I'm hoping he says yes. I'm speaking to studios at the moment simultaneously, trying to get their attention that I have something like this. So it'll be, if that falls in place, it's going to be a massive film. There's a lot of visual effects and things in it. It's too early to speak about it, but there is this potboiler masala big action movie, but yet it will have that social message that I believe is important in today's time for you, because I believe हम जो फिल्में बनाते हैं, and we have the power to
Oh,
tell
no doubt.
people about something, if it's done in the right way, and if we can impact people,
No,
for the better, then my job is done.
you're,
I,
you,
I
you
first look
absolutely.
for that now. And then money, success, awards, whatever has to follow is part of the natural path that it takes.
Right.
But whatever I do, of course, has to make sense here.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's a lot from the heart now. So my after River of Love, which is now in process, I have a film that's absolutely ready called The Invisible Visible, which is a docudrama feature actually. It's not a drama; it's a docu feature on the homeless. So the homeless is a worldwide issue.
Issue. It is.
It's a
Yeah.
very important topic to many people across the globe,
Right.
and the situation in India as it exists even today.
Yes, I
After
know.
all these years, we are in 2021. We do have, the current leadership and all of that. They're doing what they're doing to make India a better place and all of that. But there's still too much in India that needs a lot of attention. But more than yes, I need with this film the right authorities and the people to take notice and make certain changes to help the homeless, the beggars on the street and things like that. See, by doing charity and by giving a little payment, money to some organization or some money and all that, that in my mind everybody is doing or can do, and whether you can afford 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees or $10,000, you're just doing that, and then it goes through layers and systems, and who knows what really happens with it.
Right.
But through my film, if I can motivate two people to get out there and actually do something for the homeless, for the poor, in our country, if I can get two authorities to change some laws or to actually enforce certain laws that exist which they haven't bothered about, if that happens out of my film, my job is done, and I think I've done a bigger job than
Yes.
actually writing a check out that I can afford, whatever it might be.
You are absolutely
So, invisible visible is going to be really important to us. We will hope to reach it to the right across the board, across the world. It's got that potential, and it's got that content that people will sit up and watch and feel. They will certainly feel something. I can assure you.
So how does it work for you to reaching out to one of the top most OTT platforms that we have today, like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hotstar or something like that? How does that process work? I'm just trying to understand. I don't know.
It's a business. It's a business. It's a business for them. They've opened shop. They need content. Each thing again is handled differently. So sometimes you use agents who are closely working with them. Sometimes you put it into a slate of things that you offer. Sometimes we try to bypass and not pitch it here to the India office, and for certain reasons try to reach it directly into the American office. If we are talking about Netflix per se,
Right.
so there are ways, and there are different routes and approaches that one takes. They have their own systems of who they work with and how they work with, and you try to put your content in through the system in an official manner. It's evaluated, it's looked at, it's something that they're going to put money on, so they have every right to evaluate it from their perspective, and that's the process that it goes through. Yes, but we keep a tab on what is the kind of content currently that they're looking out for or will be looking for, and what they're not definitely buying at the moment, so we don't get into that kind of a genre.
Right.
It's there's science to everything. It's not just
Agree. So we have one of our topmost fan who is from Australia, Vimal Satyalji, and he lives in Australia, and he has been connected with the film industry. In his heydays, he was connected with the film industry, and he watches almost all our programs, and he's tuned in. He is asking River of Love, when is River of Love coming to Australia?
Vimalji, help me get it to Australia. If you have friends in SBS, if you have any friends in ABC or wherever, I don't care. A good network, a good platform, a good opportunity. Maybe some distributors who might want to take it. My film Daira had shown on SBS in those days in '96 very successfully. So Vimalji, help me. You do it. Let's maybe get your name back on screen as well, with a special thank you or whatever it might be.
Here. I'll show you his message here.
Any relations to Raj and Ramesh Sippy? Now, no, Dadduji, in fact, was one of the, that's Raj and Sippy, that he was making a film called Boxer when I was assisting Vaman Guru. And I learned a lot of things in post-production on that film with Raj and Sippy. And Ramesh Sippy, we have two Ramesh Sippys. One is family and one is a very, very distant relative, which I can't even call a relative because it's that distant. So Ramesh Sippy, who directed Sholay, is Mr. G.P. Sippy's son. And Mr. G.P. Sippy was technically my dad's uncle. My grandfather's
first. Related, right?
But the distributor, Ramesh Sippy, who is actor Jitendra's brother-in-law, he is my cousin as well.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So I have no idea which Ramesh he was asking about.
Yeah, there is another message from Lakshmi Tumala, who connected us basically.
Yes, thank you, Lakshmi.
I wanted to show you her message as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Lakshmi, for tuning in and listening to this conversation. Thank you very much, and also introducing us. Yeah,
thank you.
So, Praveshji, I mean, we are 5 minutes over, but I can tell you that I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I'm hoping that all our listeners and viewers who are tuned in also enjoyed it. And I also want to let all our viewers that this recording is going to stay there on our channel. So feel free to forward it to your friends and family. Let them know about this, and so that they can enjoy this conversation as well and know a little more about production. And with Praveshji, with you, I would say good luck and best wishes for all your future endeavors. And wherever we can help you, let us know, and we will definitely try to help you out.
I will reach out. Like I said, I will hound you at times.
Definitely. So,
thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, listeners, and thank you everyone who's watching this. And it's been an honor to be here on this.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one of its kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information, and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago, and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sfurti, shakti, and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.